Welcome to Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. This is a podcast where Mark Pascucci Clifford and myself, Robert Woods-Ledoux, discuss the music that we love and hold interviews with inspiring musicians, discussing their work and practice. In this episode, we speak with electronic musician Jeff Lufkin, who releases music under the name Eli Walks. We talk about his metal and punk band high school years, his production work with his sisters Olivia and Caroline, his time at CalArts, and we dive into some of the details on his Eli Walks album Parallel. We also talk about the practice of finishing projects, the song a day for a month online community, software plugins, and more. If you're listening to this, you should check out the album Parallel by Eli Walks on Apple Music. If you would like, you can support the podcast by subscribing to us on Patreon. Follow us on Twitter at tones_4. Follow us on Instagram at FT4HB. We greatly appreciate any and all support. Thank you. Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. Welcome to Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. I am one of two hosts, Robert Woods-Ledoux.
And I am Mark Pascucci Clifford.
And today we have the honor of talking with Jeff Lufkin.
Good to be here, man.
Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Welcome and hello.
So, I guess my first question would be, let's get your backstory. How did you get into music? Were you playing piano as a kid or anything like that?
I was a guitarist. I started off as a Nirvana kid.
Oh.
Yeah. I started off a rock guitar, moved to metal.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I played in huh? What's that?
Wait, I didn't know that I didn't know this.
Oh, you
about
didn't know
you.
that?
No.
Yeah, I was a metal guy all the way through high school. Yeah, I was in punk bands, metal bands. And then probably around 18, I started producing. So that led me to more the tech stuff.
Did you, did your parents put you in music lessons and stuff like that? Or were you just doing it on your own?
Yeah. I started playing guitar, once I started getting into Nirvana, they're like, oh, you want to go to this school? And actually I never wanted to go, but at that point I was like, yeah.
Like a fine arts school or something?
No, just guitar lessons.
Just guitar lessons?
Yeah. So I started off with that. And then, there was also this special guitar school out here in Japan.
Oh, this was, so where did you grow up exactly?
Kind of back and forth, but mostly in Japan. Yeah, so basically all my high school, middle school. Yeah.
You were born in the States though, right? You were born in the States?
Yeah. So from 3 years old, I was in Okinawa.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically my childhood was there.
Were you in Japan all the way until you went to college or?
No.
Okay.
I went to North Carolina for 2.5 years. Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. Kind of random. But my dad was in the military, so we jumped around a lot.
Oh, okay. The U.S. military?
U.S. military.
So yeah, that's cool. Cause
Marine. Yeah.
Wait, so you were in Japan when Nirvana hit? I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah.
And because my perspective on that, I mean, that was huge for me too. And the way that their music sounds and the writing and everything, I think I would claim is still an influence on me. Whether or not
absolutely
I have any, whether or not I'm conscious of it, that stuff is so ingrained. And I'm just curious what it was like when that hit in Japan as well, because I know what it was like in Lakewood, Colorado, but it was still an extremely powerful thing. I think that's what put you on the music path. That's interesting. But
And I think it's probably exactly the same because I grew up with a bunch of bass kids. It was all kids from America. We had our own community there. So everything you guys were feeling, we had the same thing. Um, yeah. And I mean, even off of the bass, the Japanese community, everyone knew it. Everyone loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we were more like kind of like the stateside. So
yeah. And so in high school, when this was, well, I mean, I guess that was earlier, but after that, when you were going through school, elementary, middle, high school, were you in music programs there as well? Were you playing in bands or anything like that?
yeah, well, all the way through high school, I just had guitar lessons, and then I had mainly like 2 or 3 bands I played with.
Okay.
And then it wasn't until CalArts, like my college, that started really getting into schooling.
And you said that you had progressed pretty quickly to metal, like once you had started playing, right? So what type of bands were you checking out in that vein at that age?
Well, of course, I guess the first one is like Metallica,
Yeah.
Slayer, Sepultura,
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, just everything. Anything hard, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people around me were listening to like Napalm Death, Cannibal Corpse, and
Ooh. Yeah, all right.
But I mean that was actually outside of my group. I gradually got to that point, but I was more like Metallica. Yeah, kind of like.
That's interesting. So I mean, I learned. I remember Nirvana being one of the first songs I learned how to play on guitar. I forget which song it was.
Same here. Teen Spirit for me, man.
Getting like my fingers to manage a power chord, like on
I have the same memory too. I'm not a guitarist, but I still learned the power chord via Nirvana on a guitar.
Yeah.
And then I think around the same time.
Heart-shaped box too, man.
Yeah. And then that riff, that do 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 do.
Oh yeah, that's a nice.
That one that's very playable. So I think that we all were able to hang with that between bouts of like, I don't know, SNES, Mario, whatever the hell was happening at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've always been kind of curious about anyone who gets into metal, how they get there. And it seems like the path that you kind of walked is fairly common, which is like you get into like grunge, it's grunge, alternative to grunge, to like harder rock to metal, But yeah, it's just interesting because like some people come from different directions,
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you into like stuff like Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson at the time?
I was into Manson, yeah. I remember right around that time, Sweet Dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out on TV, and it was like, oh, he's like the crazy dude, and everyone started painting their nails black, and
yeah.
The look.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, true deep dives into death metal didn't happen for me until I met Bob. But I'm still trying to think about, because you said you were in some punk bands too, and I remember my friends when I was younger showing me like the Pixies or something like that, and that music is still with me today, and that's like that influences on Nirvana, but a lot more raw, and that aesthetic really appeals to me still. Like I still love Surfer Rosa with all my heart, So were you listening to punk as well, or were you just trying
I would say around high school, my best friend, he was really into Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
Minor Threat.
Yes.
All those bands. So actually the punk band I was in was kind of in that direction.
So like hardcore, Discord type vibes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you writing for these bands at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was like, yeah. I mostly, I'm trying to remember yeah, I mostly wrote, I think most of it,
Wow.
because a lot of the other guys weren't so experienced. So I had a little bit of chord knowledge. So
Yeah. At that time, and I mean, this is looking forward a little bit to the work of yours that I've listened to, but at that time, were you thinking melodically, or were you just like grinding out power chords?
it was just power chords, all rhythm guitar. I didn't even know how to play lead really. And, you know,
Were you writing any vocal lines?
I wasn't.
Or lyrics even?
No, that's something I've always stayed away from. Not a lyricist, not a, I'm getting more into that now, I think. You know, trying to, but I just never really listened to the lyrics.
Those to me are always the last thing to come. Like I'll know an entire song inside and out, and then I'll finally get the lyrics.
Yeah.
You know, and I that's something I could work on, but that's all good.
Do you remember Gabe Deutsch?
Yeah.
Gabe actually changed. I had this perspective, what you're talking about, where it's like I could listen to a song all day, not know what the words were, and never remember them also. But Gabe actually changed my perspective on that, I think, permanently. Because he's such a serious person. But he's like,
is Gabe Deutsch
he's our classmate at CalArts, and he just had a lot of interesting philosophy to share about lyrics that I like kind of like opened my ears to it, and I can't close them ever again, you know? Like,
dude, you need to share that with me.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because I remember getting into hip hop heavily because I would hear the music of it coming through my sister's floor, and my bedroom was below hers, and a lot of that is based heavily on sampled bass lines that were really fascinating to me at the time. I didn't know why, and still to this day, like the lyrics are still the last thing to come, even though hip hop is all about lyricism. You know, but to me, like before I'm able to listen to any of that, I have to like the music a lot first.
Yeah.
You know, and then I dig in.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the entryway for me as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So you were playing all throughout and taking lessons on guitar all throughout high school, and all of this was in Japan, or was it back in?
Yeah. Also, I think my lessons, they probably ended around like middle school somewhere, and then I just took off. High school, it was just like all band stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And were you
playing shows?
I was. Probably freshman, sophomore year. Yeah, we had like probably every month.
That's so dope.
There was a little place outside of the base to play. We had a lot of friends, so we sucked, but we could pack the place, so they would book us.
Nice, man.
we were okay.
That's such a crucial element in a musical background, is having like an output, like a place to play.
Yeah, it's super important. When we had the main jazz club in Denver would let the high schoolers like do their thing, and we had a regular that was once a year on New Year's Eve, but still that was huge because it was packed out, and like we knew that we had a whole year to get it together, and we'd be shedding the whole time. You know what I mean? But there were other ones as well. But like, you know, I have a lot of love and respect for people who deal with high schoolers and book them and let them learn about the logistics of playing shows. Because, even in your 30s, that's still a disaster sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I was just reading back an email that our friend Andrew McGuire had forwarded to me. I wasn't on it, but it was Bob letting a band know that Eli's Mile High Club had essentially dropped the ball, But the way in which Bob described that was was amazing, man. He wrote an email that like was a guide on how to break up with your bookie at a certain club, and it's probably like,
I don't remember this.
I'm sure you don't, man, but it's probably like 2 pages worth of material, and it's one of the funniest emails I've ever read.
Can you
and I know
send
that
that
Andrew
to
just
me?
sent it to. Yeah, I'll send it to you, man. It's amazing. We can do a bonus, Fantastic Tones for Human bonus, where I just read emails that you've sent that you don't remember.
That sounds good.
That's amazing, man.
So, at all in this time in high school where you're into hard rock and metal, perhaps, were you at all getting into electronic music?
Yeah, well, it was probably around my junior year. I would say my sisters started digging into like, you know, what like Massive Attack, Tricky, like, well, that was kind of like the gateway, you know. Like
This is. I forgot about your sisters.
Are these older siblings?
Yeah, 2 older
Yeah.
sisters.
I mean, that's so important.
They were playing music too. Yeah. Like,
Yeah. Well, Olivia at that time, she was already in a major record label. She was a singer.
Oh,
in
really?
Tokyo. She moved out here from the age of 16. She was signed and yeah, Caroline was going to Berkeley College of Music. So yeah, and I think around my junior year they started introducing me like Caroline, like Boards of Canada, like the Warp Records kind of stuff. And Olivia, it was like more the trip hop. So like from there it was kind of like, oh, there's more to this.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it took a while to really get in, but yeah.
Did you guys ever play music together?
Yes, a lot. I actually produced maybe like 4 or 5 of Olivia's albums, like mini albums, and
in high school?
Not in high school. No, later on as like work stuff, and then Caroline was more like every now and then we would write a song together for like a compilation or her album. So it was more like arranging her songs, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you first started getting into that world, what was the first, I don't know, program or hardware? What were you using to start experimenting outside of just plugging in a guitar?
It started with like Electribes. You know, familiar with those like 16-step drum machines?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then also, I mean, I was just trying to produce a whole track for a company to listen to. So I would have a QY, like, you know, the little Yamaha QY sequencer. But basically they had like the preset strings, you could basically like build a song in there.
Okay, and so it's a sequencer and like built-in recorder. Did it have like mixing faders on it and everything too, or?
Yeah, basically it's just like just imagine like Reason in a box or something. Reason or Ableton. You can't really record in there, but it just has like
you can sequence
the preset.
In there.
I'm sorry?
You can sequence in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can make drum beats and just imagine like 8 MIDI channels of doing whatever you want. Like, yeah.
Okay. Cool. And that felt good. It made sense when you started working with that type of gear.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I don't know. Like sometimes certain pieces, like you talked about the Electribe. I had one of those for a while, but then I went back to an MPC just because I had already learned the workflow. And I remember early on, my dad giving me a piece of gear that I learned how to record into. It didn't have a sequencer or anything, but it felt intuitive. It made sense, and it made it easy for me to make music. And I feel like that's super important when you're younger, because the most important thing at that point, in my opinion, is like creative output and not necessarily learning how to learn about gear, you know? So I feel like if you get your hands on something, it's good to be able to just like dive in and I don't know, like, I don't know how technical this, I want to look this up.
It was, so basically it was for me, it's kind of like the entry level. You could like throw down ideas, and it was in no way like on the, like, I don't think it was like you wouldn't want to use it on a real track or something. It was just kind of like this toy box kind of thing, high level toy box. But it kind of taught me sequencing. Like I was just getting into like electronic stuff. So I learned all about MIDI, there's tracks, you could do this and that.
Okay.
I think there's a thing with people of our generation where we're having access to these devices when we're like in our formative years, where we're able to layer our ideas on top of one another to build tracks or songs or whatever, and like having the ability to do that, I feel like is like shapes a lot of people from our generation. I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob, so when you're saying that, what was that for you?
I had a 4-track, like a tape recorder. I actually still have it.
Dude, can I have it? Looking for it.
Man,
dude, hang
fun.
on. I got the thing that you want.
Yeah.
This boy that I've had repaired multiple times. Sorry.
Oh man.
But it's still yep, the Tascams,
dude.
Porta Studios.
I think I said Yamaha, but yes, it's Tascam.
Yeah, these are amazing, and I still love using this essentially as a preamp for any like if I'm poking drum beats out of a drum machine, I'll run it through that and then try to sample that just because there's such a sound for it. You know, it sounds it's hard to recreate that.
Yeah. But I had a QY, but I also eventually had a MD4S. So I used to record the MD. Do you know the MD4S, the Yamaha? Yeah. So that was my first like recorder.
That's like Sony?
I'm sorry?
That's Sony?
Yamaha.
Yeah.
MD4S.
Oh.
Yeah. So only have 4 tracks, record, and then bounce to 1 track.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Kind of deal. Yeah. That was my
that's interesting
for a while.
Because I with again going back to what Bob was saying about having the ability to build tracks on each other, I think that all of us in our generation were also limited with having to bounce. Like even on my digital recorder, I had like a Boss BR32, something like that, but I still had to bounce things over if I wanted to keep tracking. And probably cats who are coming up now don't have to deal with those limitations. So I'm wondering what that feels like, because I personally adore having limitations imposed because it just streamlines the creative process.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, because I mean, right now I have almost any plugin out there, but I find that kind of like right in the beginning, I'm like, what synth am I going to use? And I have like 200 options.
Oh man.
When you just have that one thing, you find like every single angle of it.
Yeah, so I actually did have questions for you down the line from some of the stuff that I've listened to about limitations, because, for me personally, I have to, I mostly use like hardware synths for that exact reason, because otherwise it's kind of brutal just settling on something,
So when was the first time you got because all of this is hardware, when did you start using a computer to make music?
It was around, I would like 20. I think I was like 20. So I had like 2 or 3 years I had with, like the MD4S, the multi-track Yamaha stuff. And then gradually, I started working on, like, I had work. So I was like, oh, I gotta get a laptop. This is getting a little bit, you need Pro Tools at that point. You need all these things. So
what were you doing?
So I was writing music for Olivia.
Oh.
And then, And then...
Was that before you went to CalArts?
Yeah.
Ah. So you graduated from high school and then did production work for a while?
Yeah, basically, probably from the age of 16, I started like gradually getting in there, like working. And then 20, it was like full on.
And
Yeah.
is she's still like pretty famous, right? Like she's a
Yeah. She hasn't been out for a bit, so just yeah,
she hasn't released
does her
anything.
family stuff now, so she's a little bit taking care of that. But yeah, definitely.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Right on.
I think she's got some stuff coming.
So what was that like for you guys? I mean, like cuz she was famous when you were in high school, right? So
Yeah.
how did that affect, I don't know, how like your outlook on things, or what did you how did you think about that?
It was just a trip. Like,
Yeah.
like I was just still going to school. Like I had my little life. Like she moved out to Tokyo, so I wasn't really aware. Like I would see her on TV and stuff, and I'd be like, "What? This is insane." But I didn't really understand that until like I was like 16, 17. I moved out here, moved out to Tokyo area, and then we'd be walking down like through Harajuku, like the big shopping district, and like she would get surrounded by like 100 people. And
Oh my
Whoa.
God.
it was, and I was like, what the hell is going on, dude?
And
Yeah,
man, and you were helping to produce the tracks. And,
yeah.
Okay.
That's a cool
This is-
opportunity.
I wasn't. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, that I was just saying that seems like a cool opportunity.
Yeah, it was just, yeah, I would say it was quite inspiring. My sister like got in there. She was like, it's like dreams come true.
Yeah.
If you really want to do music, you could do music. And I was like, holy shit. Actually, the reason why I got the QI in the first place is because Olivia had one, and she had started writing her stuff. And then I was kind of following that. Like, yeah.
Nice. Cool. So then what turned you on the path to go to CalArts?
So eventually I got to the point where probably, yeah, influenced through Caroline, I really got into like Boards of Canada, Plaid, like all those groups.
Mm-hmm.
And this one summer, I think it was a summer or something, her bandmate came to Japan, this guy named Juno, and he was like a genius. And he showed me all, like, he introduced all that stuff. And that was kind of like the world to me,
Yeah.
And right at that point, I was like, how do I become you, man? Like, and he told me, he was like, yo, man, like, go to CalArts. Like, there's some dope people out there.
Did he go to CalArts?
No, he went to Berkeley. Yeah.
And he told,
but he was one of the more like experimental guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he
this is UC
like, go
Berkeley,
to CalArts.
Right? UC Berkeley, not Berkeley in Boston.
Berkeley and Boston.
Oh, Berkeley and Boston. Okay.
Yeah. College of Music. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So basically because of him, like, yeah, it's like, okay, I'm definitely going to this school. This is what I want to learn. Yeah.
So
Crazy.
I don't know about all the programs at CalArts. I know about the composer improviser crossover one, but what program were you in?
The music tech program.
Okay.
So it's kind of like theory, programming, mixing, the whole deal. It's kind of like half and half. Yeah.
Cool. And
theory and tech.
You sent in your portfolio. Did you go visit or anything, or were you just in there committed?
I did. Yeah. Actually, I wasn't even accepted at first. I submitted and they said no. And then I went over to the school. I was like, yo, I have to get in here.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I went there. I was like, nah, man, I got to get in here.
I don't think you understand, actually. I will be attending this school.
I actually had a very similar experience to that.
Oh, really?
I applied, and then I think I was accepted, but they didn't give me any scholarship or anything. So I couldn't go, and so I applied again the next year. Like I moved to California and then I applied again.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, for all your listeners that out there, if you want to get to CalArts, the trick is to apply twice.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that I have known. But yeah. All right, cool. So what you you and Bob overlapped, right? Were you there at the same time?
I think, Bob, you were probably...
You were there for
years ahead,
4 years, though?
I was,
so
yeah.
I think I was there when you were a junior and senior, right? Because I think we graduated together.
Something like that. Actually, it was 4-year college. I already finished all my gen eds almost.
Oh, okay.
By the time I got there. So it was like 3 years. I think
2009 was I graduated in 2009.
Okay, yeah. I think, yeah. I don't even know, man.
Yeah.
So something that's been really interesting for me, that I kind of want to talk about with CalArts, a lot of the guests that we've talked to so far have been people that have gone to University of Miami, and I've learned a lot about the culture and how important that is. Like across the board, many musical events and cultures that are happening right now as an influence from that particular program. And just from your perspective, what was the culture and the scene like, and interfacing with the students? I'm sure it was strong and deep, but what did you get from that personally, being at CalArts?
Man. Yeah, I think like the biggest thing was just being in like that tech group was insane. Like everyone was doing like very similar things, like, but in a very unique way. So like, I just found that totally opened up my world to electronic, like on really high level.
Yeah. So it pushed, I guess, your technique.
Yeah.
Way, but then also open your eyes to new ways of working and new ways of hearing things, and give you new ideas of like, all right, cool, I want to try to make something that sounds like this, or interact with the environment this way, or
just the creativity, like, and the just ways of composing. There's people writing with trackers. There's people who are like, oh, I'm going to take brainwaves and turn this into music. So what? So it was just like, wow, there's all.
So what were you trying to focus on?
I just wanted, like, I basically played with an USB version of the MPC. What is it called?
The Renaissance. Oh,
MPD,
the MPD, right?
MPD, that's what it is. Yeah, so I just wanted to be able to perform live. I came from like the metal background and stuff, so I want to present something on stage, not just kind of sit behind the glass.
Sure.
Yeah. So I just wanted to find the different ways to hack that, to be able to present something, and for the people to be able to understand what I was doing.
If you're using an MPD, you're still somewhat behind a screen though, right? Or were you trying to put that aside? You already had everything mapped out and you would just be playing the MPD. Yeah.
So I guess there still would be somewhat of a gap, but like, for example, like when you guy Gel, the MPC player.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's like really sick, right? And you could tell he's doing it, like he's moving, and then you could tell he's
yeah.
So
did you ever see a Count Basie playing MPC? He has mallets. He uses mallets, and he plays it like a vibraphone.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And I love his music very much. It's check him out, Count Basie.
Oh yeah.
But he just uses mallets, which I don't think I've seen anybody else do. But yeah, Gel's sick too.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I was trying to take something from that book. I basically would have everything on playback. And then we made this plugin where as soon as I started hitting my pads, I could remix anything that was on that track.
Oh.
So like I would push play, the whole thing's playing, and then I could remix the beat, and then I could hit loop, and then that would just keep playing. So I would remix it on the fly.
Whoa.
And so then I would go on to the next thing, like, okay, I have this melody playing, and chop up the melody, and then that would be played over the last thing. I would just keep layering, and then I would edit the whole, like do the whole phew, phew.
Yeah, dude, that's sick
effects.
because you're touching on, to me, what are some of the larger limitations with using an MPC, because it's so hard to create on the fly.
Yeah.
Like you get your workflow down and you can make something and you can make it play, but to do what you just described is almost impossible, I think. That sounds amazing. And you wrote the plugin?
Actually, I came up with some of the ideas behind it, but it was mostly like my brother-in-law, Owen Vallis. Owen, Bob.
Yes.
But he was a crazy. He could do everything.
That was in Reactor, probably.
Huh?
Reactor.
Reactor, yeah.
Yeah. That was like.
So that was.
That seemed to be
the
like
chopper.
The most common. I mean, like everyone was learning Max in school, but it seems like everyone wanted to use Reactor.
Yeah.
Can you describe Reactor a little bit? I'm familiar with Max, but not so much Reactor.
Basic. Oh, go ahead.
No, you please. I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. It's basically just an environment. You could bring out all these macros. It's like this. How do you say it? You could do all this math and build anything you wanted. You can make a drum plugin. You can make like an effect.
Yeah.
Just anything. Just an environment.
You can build connections between software and hardware devices.
Damn. I mean, this sounds fun.
Yeah.
I want to dive in. And in order to write anything in there, do you know what kind of like language was under the hood or anything like that? Or is it its own thing?
It's if you go beyond that, I think it's what is it, C++ or whatever. I didn't get into that, but yeah, Reactor's just Reactor.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It has its own sort of proprietary means of, like, whereas Max is like this, it has a proprietary means of connecting different objects. Reactor has a similar, workflow.
Cool. Well, there you go. I've learned something today on today's podcast. So I've accomplished my goal. I'm gonna go. I'll see y'all later. No. Sick, man.
Did you get into doing any like, because at CalArts I know there's like, CalArts is like a little box that everyone's inside of, and like, did you get into like the Indian music or the gamelan or any of that stuff?
I was in Alfred's African class.
Oh, right on.
I didn't do like too much. I took, little whatever the requirements were. I took Wenin's monkey chant. Like stuff like that.
Yeah. But you didn't get too heavy into any of that stuff.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But it was cool. I was influenced by that. All my friends were into it, and
yeah, for sure.
Listening to Indian at home and
So I guess when did you start with the name Eli Walks?
It's kind of a funny thing. It used to be the name of one of my bands back when I was like 18.
Oh.
It was like this metal / mixture band, and we named it Eli Walks. And actually, like, it's funny. 2 years later, I was in California, and that's right when MySpace came out, right? And that's when I started having I had my tracks a little bit ready, and I was like, oh, I have no name to put up there, so I just randomly put Eli Walks. And then from there, it just started taking off as that. Like everyone knew me as Eli Walks. I was like felt kind of weird because it was my band's name too, but like
just stuck with
no
it.
one. I just stuck with it. Whatever.
I love that. I would like to collect a whole compendium of everyone that we talked to, just about where their band names come from, because I've heard the talk down of Denny Breakfast once, and I think I have like a very loose idea of where that came from, and it had to do something with like a review and like an error in the writing or something, and then you're just like, well, there it is.
It's a similar thing. That's like when I started, like when I wanted to release music under my own name, I basically had this press that was referring to me as Denny Breakfast, and so I just felt like I was like, might as well just stick with this name. I mean, I couldn't think of a better one at the time. So,
yeah, we'll have a little book out soon just about this. Most of it is not intentional. Band names happen to you.
There's a lot of really bad band names.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been told multiple times by my friend Lisa Metzakappa to never ever ask her about a band name that I have in mind, because she's hypercritical about them, and most of them are, just she's right. Most of them are bad, so whatever. I've had my fair share.
Yeah. So is there any meaning behind Eli Walks? Is Eli a person?
Yeah, actually, so I mean, I was like 15, 16 when I made the name. I was into like, I think at the time, it's like the connection between human and sound or something. Wasn't like too deep, but I was just really, I always remember my my middle school friend's dad's name was Eli, and I thought that was the coolest name. It was kind of like scary to me for some reason. So it was like Eli, and then I think Walk meant like alive or something. Like I was walking down the road with Olivia, my sister, and it was just like, oh, what's a cool word to go with Eli? I like, it has to be Eli something. Yeah. We're just walking on the road. She said, Walks. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, Walks. I like it too, because it kind of sounds like a person's name.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's curious. I wonder why that name had that effect on you. I know Elijah is a biblical name, but like Eli specifically, and I'm curious. I don't know.
Did you grow up speaking Japanese in your house, or was it English or both?
No, it was all English. But I mean, yeah, we would visit my grandparents and stuff. We had like little opportunities.
Right on.
But yeah, mainly English.
Yeah.
But you learned Japanese, obviously, right? Like.
Yeah. I mean, I still have rough spots. Definitely. I mean, even Japan is almost Japanese is kind of like divided into different formalities. When you get to the super high level, like you get to like business and stuff, it's completely different.
Really?
Oh, so I struggled a lot with that, but I mean, I could speak and get through all that, but
that's fascinating. I did not know that.
I mean, it's generally the same, but yeah, there's certain words that change and a certain way,
Right. Yeah, you just got to know
the time in Nagoya and Kyoto, and yeah, dude, I just got my butt handed to me. I tried my best, but it was tough, man. It was
You mean just like communicating with people, or like getting around
and Nagoya is huge, and I got super lost on the train at some point, and I was trying to talk to people about where I was trying to go back to, and It's a part of it. It was a big old adventure. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, those are less like Tokyo. Tokyo is more, there's a lot more activity here, a lot of foreigners. So I feel like generally you can get around.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, I think other places it could be very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you starting to create, going back to Eli Walks, were you starting to create that music when you were still in school, or was this all after you had graduated? I think it must have been after, right? That was out in 2000, what, 12? Is that right?
Yeah. Like, yeah.
All right, cool. So were you already making that material when you went to the program?
I think it started in the middle of, yeah, probably in the middle of CalArts, I would say it started getting more and more serious. And then, yeah, when I got out of CalArts and came back to Japan is when I was like, okay, this is going to happen now. Let's really try to do something, like get on a label, do all those things. So, yeah, that's when I wrote the album, basically.
Right on.
All right, cool. Bob, do you have any listening available? Can we
Yes,
check some of
I've
that
got
out?
some samples prepared.
Awesome. Yeah, let's listen to a bit. I have a lot of questions about the record.
Yeah, hopefully I
wanted to
remember some.
Yeah, let's start with moving. All right, so here we go. Yes, that song is dope.
Yes.
Oh, thanks, man.
Super sick.
It's been a minute. Haven't listened to that in a while.
It sounds amazing.
Thanks,
so
man.
a number of things jump out to me about this song. I bothered to transcribe a little bit of this. And so you have a 7-bar phrase followed by an 8-bar phrase followed by a 7-bar phrase. In the sort of first part of that, and then I think it goes into 4-bar phrases for the second part. But how do you think about those types of, because you have a pretty like serious chord progression happening. It's just interesting how it, like, to have a 7-bar chord progression and then to like extend it to 8 bars and then move back to 7. Like, how were you?
I like some of the artists I listen to that, they'll play like 3, 3, 3, 4, I was kind of into that. I still am, like, yeah. Just kind of being a little bit tricky. I like making those reveal a little bit and then reveal the whole thing, or, so yeah, a lot of times I'll cut the bars a little bit and then
awesome.
Show the whole thing later.
And then show the whole thing later. I mean, I'm guessing that's what I was. I probably have to listen again to what I was doing, but yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, throughout the record, there's a lot of really melodic material. And were you writing any of this? Okay, so I guess my question is, were you producing and writing at the same time, or would you work things out outside of the production process? Like did any of this stuff come out of like you playing on an instrument and then you're like, all right, cool, I'm going to work with this material, or did you do it simultaneously?
I would say like most of these songs, I'd just be on a walk or something. Just get this vibe, go home, and then boom, it's just like I could just hear it. So I would just plug in away at everything, write down the synth line. Of course, like I would do touch ups later.
Yeah.
Okay, like maybe this clap isn't hitting. Okay,
sure,
little things like that. I would refine, of course, but
I love that, because those moments, like when you're out and about and then like something is there and you get all excited to go home and do the work, like that's amazing,
Yeah, that's the moment, man.
that's really cool. And a lot of times that's not a given. Like sometimes you have to really do some of the grueling work to get through and actually get a finished piece out. So it's cool if you had a whole period of time into one record where you were able to be like, all right, I'm going to go on a stroll, and you would start to gather material essentially. Were you, let me ask you this. Are you able to, if you're hearing any of these chords and melodies, is it something that you can go home and just kind of like bust out, or do you need to sort of transcribe what's in your head?
Yeah, I think I would just find it immediately. Like there's kind of both, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes I have this thing mapped out and then I just, plug away, or a lot of times I would just sit down and just find it.
That's pretty incredible. That also speaks to a real like because one of the barriers between that pure inspiration and getting a song out is the logistics of production. So being able to manage the logistics of production such that you can still capture that inspirational moment that's pretty incredible, honestly.
Yeah. Did you have your rig just ready to go? Like, so you could just sit down and you don't, because, right now I have to plug in everything. Nothing's hardwired right now. So it does create a barrier. So I'm curious when you were making this record, what was the rig like, and was it hardwired?
Man, I think it was really easy in my case, because like it was all laptop. I had my go-to synths, my samples. I knew my library really well. You have to be organized, I think. Like you have that folder, and I have that moment, and I'm like, okay, like, oh, I'm getting that boardsy kind of synth out. I'm getting plucks or whatever. You just have everything ready and and then of course you could go in and tweak later, but yeah, the general vibe, I think I was ready to pull it out.
So were you using Ableton to make this?
Ableton, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. All right, so yeah, soft synths throughout, and you just knew the instruments that you had on your laptop well enough that you could just go for it.
Yep.
Man,
that was pretty much
dope.
Well, okay, so did you? I'm guessing not, but you didn't have any limitations or rules in mind. It sounds like more of this was like, all right, I have this idea and I'm going to see it through. Boom, there it is. Next, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No compositional restraints necessarily.
Yeah, I just kind of like, I just wrote a whole bunch of stuff and then,
Yeah, man.
Wrote a shitload and then just kind of pieced it together. Like, oh yeah, like I'm feeling like I would have like 3 songs or something. I had like 3 songs or something, and then be like, okay, like this is probably like the beginning of the album. Okay, I probably need something mellow here.
Yeah.
Go searching in my library. Okay, maybe I need to brush this up and I could put it in, or
Are there like a bunch of B-sides that we're not hearing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because actually during that time I was a label had hit me up to release, and at that time I was playing like I had like an hour set of like all kinds of different stuff, and then I just took bits out of my set and then made that into my
Parallel.
album.
So wait, you were performing this music live
Yeah.
before you had released this album, basically.
Some of it. Like,
that's fascinating.
Okay, so were you in Tokyo at this point?
Yes.
And were you playing like clubs? Was it like late night vibe or?
Yeah. That was basically.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Basically on nights in Tokyo, it's the midnight hours from 11 to the morning. They usually have all the electronic techno or whatever.
Whoa.
Yeah. So kind of got into that scene, and yeah.
Dang.
All the guys would try to get on the bills with like Chris Clark and,
right,
the top dogs coming into town.
Yeah.
Did you ever get on bills like that?
Yeah. It was, I was fortunate enough to, be friends with those labels, and like the scene here is really cool.
That's awesome.
And yeah, once you get in, they'll start inviting you out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can I ask, just as someone who's not quite as familiar with the genre, there's a few instances where you use a vocal sample, and I hear this all the time. You know what I mean? And I just want to know, just for me personally, so I can feel like I have a little bit more knowledge about the genre. Where does this practice come from? Is this like straight? Like, I don't know enough about any of the subgenres in this realm. But do you know what I the only way I could really describe it is to try to sing it, but I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? It's like a sped up and chopped vocal sample.
Well, there's a vocal sample at the end of this excerpt that I played, right?
Yes, exactly. And but this technique happens multiple times in the record, and I feel like I've heard this a lot in electronic music, and I'm just wondering where this practice like comes from, or if this is even worth investigating. You know what I mean? Is this something that you're conscious of, or you're just like, I'm going to do this because this is kind of like a standard practice in a way, and I can use this tool right now,
Yeah, I just see it as like a texture. Okay. A lot of it. Yeah. I don't go like too deep with it, but other times too, I mean, this is probably something I shouldn't say, but like probably like the second song on the album. It's actually, I think Warren G died the day that I started that song.
Oh shit.
No, not Warren G, but I'm sorry, Nate Dogg.
Nate Dogg.
I said, yeah, they're kind of like a pair, right? Yeah. So I was like, oh, I got to sample his voice. Like, so I took his voice, and then there's like little pieces in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there would be moments like that, throw a little meaning on it.
Yeah, definitely. I've just never used vocal samples in that particular way. And I thought it was interesting because for me personally, when I've heard that, it's been Tortoise using it, but they're giving a nod, they're definitely giving a nod to what?
The sample kind of giving it.
Yeah, but it's the way that the sample is used, I'll get back to everyone
that has
on that.
To come,
Sorry.
This has to come from hip hop, right? Like,
I don't think so. I think this has to come more from like deep house or techno, because this is where I hear that world. I don't think this is like a hip hop technique, because this isn't something that would be necessarily intuitive on like.
But it is a hip hop
SP
technique.
or an MPC,
It is a hip hop technique, though. Like,
I mean, originally that's what it is, right?
Like early 80s hip hop is all samples, right? It's like,
yes. So, but I mean, the particular texture that's created by the manipulation of the voice in this way is what I'm saying. I don't hear that in the early 80s
No, but
hip hop
the use of the voice as a instrument as opposed to like having a singer, like having a sample of a voice be an instrumental texture.
Yeah. Yes, I think what I'm talking about is like the texture and the timbre that it creates, and in this particular way, it's sped up and it's chopped in a different way. And maybe it's because I'm not hearing like the hard boom bap behind it that I'm like not contextualizing it in a certain way, you know. But I've always heard this certain style of vocal sampling, and I personally affiliate it with like techno and deep house, but I'm just curious about where that comes from, because I heard you using that particular sound, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I've definitely done work like with the MP where you can, you know, you can do the chromatic 16 pads and you sample any voice and do 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 do, you know.
Yeah.
But it never sounds the same way.
Are you talking about it like speeding up?
Yeah, I think so.
Just the speeding up part of it, because like the as you go up the keys in certain samplers, you know, like
yeah,
it'll shorten as you go up. Are you talking about that?
I'm talking about that sound, but used as a just like a becoming like a regular compositional sound and tool within a genre, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've like I've totally derailed, and I apologize, but I'm gonna write a little paper on this, and I'll let everyone know.
Interesting.
I'll put that out. Yeah.
By the way, what kind of genre do you think that your music is, or what would you say that it is?
That's a good question. I don't really know either, but I mean, my influences, of course, are like, you know, a lot of the Warp Records kind of area, and then what we had like in LA that was like low end theory going on, so it's more like kind of that vibe. You know, we're a little bit listenable, like you could dance.
Yeah, not quite IDM, right?
Yeah, like you could actually follow the beat really well. There was, I mean, the other side of it too is like I totally went for poppy as well. I like having straightforward stuff as well.
Your stuff is a little complex though.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
I think I try to go there as well. You know, I'm not trying to say that I'm pop.
No, for sure. Actually, so I was kind of curious. Okay, well, actually, another question, I guess, which is related to that. Do you think of these songs as having a verse and a chorus? Because a lot of them have this kind of A and B section.
Totally.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
There are times when I try to go away from it, but yeah, I would say a lot of times I'm thinking A B.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it is complex harmonically and melodically, but it's also really melodically it's super catchy. And I was like, oh man, they are catchy, even though everything that's going on production wise and harmonically is super it is really complex, and it's fascinating, you know. I haven't heard anything quite like that in this particular idiom, you know. Are the
I mean, when we're talking about complexities, I almost want can we talk just about this same excerpt one more time, but the second half of it? And I just want to ask you about rhythmically how you're thinking about this, because it's pretty interesting what's going on. And here, let me just play it again, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting kind of combination of things. So you have this like kind of very syncopated triplet thing happening. You always have the backbeat, but like you'll do like do do cat 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 cat. So like you'll have the backbeat, but like extend the snare line, and then the bass line is like I don't even know what rhythm is happening there, but it's like creating this bed, and it's where the bass drum is always side chaining against it, so it's like cutting it up, and so I don't know. It's just like it's a pretty complicated rhythmic and very groovy thing happening. And I just thought, do you have any thoughts like about how you built this?
Not I believe what I did. I think I just kind of heard it in my head for that part. Like wasn't I mean, of course, like that da 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 da.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, I want to really accent that, and then I just kind of like everything around it is just. I think I probably had a loop, and then I was like, okay, I need to make this loop kind of chaotic and just doing random stuff here and there.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of it was kind of like I just sketched all over that.
Very cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm definitely into that triplet feel.
Because it's like it's in contrast to the melody part too, which is in do 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 do. It's like in a steady eighth note sort of feel. So it's oh no, very cool song.
Yeah, that was kind of that was I think what I was going for, like contrast.
So I wanted to play Spectrum, an excerpt from Spectrum, because it's also it's such a cool song, and honestly, there's a lot about this that's very similar to like the things that are about this that I find cool about Moving. I also found cool about Spectrum. Like it's got a 6-bar verse per chord progression. So here, let me play this excerpt of
definitely similar.
Let me play this excerpt of Spectrum here.
Man, I love that song so much.
Oh, thanks.
Are you okay? I gotta ask, are you, because we already talked about like you walking around and you hear it. So are you technically hearing like key centers and you know what's going on with the chord progressions, or is that still something that you need to noodle out a little bit? I feel like I sort of touched on this, but this song really exemplifies what I was hearing about that, because the melodies and the harmonic movement are so strong within this environment. And I just want to, I'm curious, like, was that all there? And is that something that you feel like you just hear and you're able to bring back to your working environment?
Yeah. I'm trying to like remember everything, but yeah, I think I remember the general groove being there, like the melodies and kind of like how I wanted it to be arranged.
Yeah.
But yeah, but there was definitely sides to it where I had to sit down and kind of add other layers and figure it out. There was I think it had a little bit more complexity to it. So I had to, well, for my, I wasn't able to imagine all that shit. Like,
Yeah. So you're using a MIDI controller to work in the synths that are in the computer, yeah?
Yeah.
So do you? I mean, I know that you play guitar, but do you play much piano as well, or is it all through production that you've learned to do anything in that sense?
I learned some like little bit of jazz. I had some piano stuff in CalArts, and yeah.
Cool.
So I'm curious about how you think about melodic material versus non-melodic material. Like, because some of the stuff in this song, I'm wondering actually how it falls in your mind, because like there's like these samples that come in, like you have 3 repetitions of this progression in the verse, if you will, and like there's like these samples that come in and they're pitched, but like they appear and disappear in a way where you're like, what was that? Like, and they're kind of are underneath the melody in such a way where it just kind of accents it.
Yeah, I usually have there's usually a session I have where I do all like the really detailed stuff, and I'll add in like little things like, oh, on the one I'm just gonna have this little thing. It's kind of like the IDM edit I do to it.
Right on.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of collage it.
I forget which, like some of the tracks you have clearly like a master, like some plugins or some like chopping happening to like the full recording, it seemed.
Yeah. I definitely do that. Yeah.
Right. So like, and when you're putting in stuff like this, are you thinking about melodically as well as like adding in like just like ideas, or is it just like
I think
sound material kind of?
Yeah, I definitely think there's both.
Right on.
Like sometimes you just think of that thing in that moment, like, oh, like if a voice does that and da 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 da, like, oh, quickly make it, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's kind of,
and
yeah.
The drums in this one in the chorus, if you will, I keep using air quotes when I say verse and chorus, but like you have bass and snare sounds, but then there's also like, for lack of a better word, which just sounds like a tumble happening.
A what?
Here, let me play
a tumble.
Let me play that bit again, because there's like, I don't know what is happening. I guess here I'll just play a short bit of this part. Like I hear the bass and the snare, but like there's like a like this type of sound. How do you get that stuff together?
I couldn't quite hear that well, so I don't know what sound you're talking about, but maybe I'm just guessing. Is it kind of like a like
maybe
kind of like a stuttery, choppy effect?
Perhaps it could be. It could be a lot of things. I guess that's why I'm asking.
All right. Well, some of the choppy stuff I do. There's a effect beat repeat in Ableton Live.
Oh, okay.
Where you could just like right, and then you could speed and slow down. So there's that. But other times too, I use AutoPan in Ableton Live. Do you know AutoPan? And what you do is you turn off the stereo mode, so you just have this single wave. So what you do is you just gate the audio really quickly, or you could slow down and speed up. So it does this kind of,
Right on. I don't use Ableton Live ever, but it's comparable to some things that they have in Renoise, which I do know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You use AutoPan without the stereo. So
yeah, without
what doing?
So it's basically just cutting. It's just gating the audio at whatever speed you're.
Oh, interesting.
You're just taking a knob and going.
Yeah. Okay.
So it like basically speeds up and slows
Yeah,
down.
this is really cool because all these
gate.
when I listen to this, I try to imagine how I might do it, and then a lot of it has just been a bit of a mystery to me. I'm just like, well, I don't know. I have to do a lot of work, but
another way to think of it is like just imagine a filter, like a low pass filter closing and opening at whatever speed you set it. You know, it can make the audio disappear, right? So it's just like
yeah, that makes sense.
Right on. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful work on that record.
Dude, thanks, man.
Like again, I think it's extremely unique for my experience with that idiom. Like it just I try not to lean on it too much, and I'm learning a lot through the process of these interviews. But I'm trying not to just wholly think about things harmonically, which is my tendency. But
hey,
that being said,
great transition point to the next excerpt, actually.
Yeah, I mean, but I was gonna say, that being said, you do provide a lot of like really interesting harmonic and melodic material, and it's been very cool for me to dig in with this dichotomy, of both those things going on, like on the production end, and then also just like really nice music that I can just like hang out with too.
Thanks, man.
It's cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play Eclipse. Because this one,
that's the chaotic one.
This one doesn't have like a lot of your stuff on here is so driven by chord progression and melody, and this has less of that, certainly. So yeah, here I'll play this sample. So, okay, I have some questions about that. This one is really fascinating to me in terms of song form, I guess. How do you think about when you're making music like this? How do you think about the song form of this? Because you have like in the other piece, I mean, it's such a clear A/B section, and this is not clear. How do you?
Dude, this actually used to be this was one of my main live set songs before. So I had like all kinds of versions of this one. The way it's put on the album here is just like, I think I just camped out for a couple days made it kind of song format.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know.
so did you
Uh,
play it live and record it basically?
no,
Oh,
no. But I mean, the way I thought of it in my head was kind of like A B kind of. That's the way it just felt like a long verse of noise, crap flying everywhere.
Yeah,
And then you have that kind of chill moment where it breaks down.
mm-hmm.
So in my live set, that used to be kind of like one of the big drops. Like I would cut it down really low, and then
It's really fascinating how long that goes on for. Like the material before it is like always changing and also not changing on in a steady 4-bar frame. So it's like you have these noises that come and go kind of like when they want, it seems, and then when it comes to that sort of drop point, it's really static, and it's like you're really holding this tension for like a while, and then it changes near the end, but it doesn't release until it comes back. It's really great stuff, honestly.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a fun one. I like playing this track live.
You still play it live?
I haven't been playing for a while, but yeah, usually when I play my sets, I do like to put it in.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting because this one I can almost, because I'm not trying to piece together all the dots of like how did you get these worlds together. It was almost easier for me to just take this on as it is, and just experience it. I thought that was kind of fascinating. Like I was just like, okay, cool. This is a textural piece, like so many elements going on at once, but I was almost able to process it easier in a way, because I was able to just like sit and let it be without trying to imagine doing it myself.
Yeah, I think I remember like the main thing I liked about it was the groove.
Yeah.
Like the first version, it just had this loop, and I was super into it. And I just needed a way to keep that going a long time. Like I just edited the crap out of it. Like, I knew I didn't really want any, like chord changes or anything. I just keep it noisy and like stay away from
that awful chord stuff.
Yeah,
awful.
just kind of
horrendous melodies.
Yeah,
horrible chord. Yeah,
we're a no chord podcast.
You didn't let me know that from the onset, so we're gonna need to discuss that later on. Unfortunately,
no, just kidding.
Yes.
Yeah. So should we move on? I'm curious about this thing, Powers of Scale.
Oh,
which I wasn't sure if that was the title of the piece or the installation.
Yeah, it's kind of, it was in the title of a exhibition.
Okay.
Is this the installations that?
Yeah, this is installation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, is this who did you work with on this?
So basically, there's this guy named Saito-san who is he's one of the guys over at Rhizomatics. Rhizomatics is they're really popular for this group called Perfume. They do all their visual stuff.
Oh,
and it's like next level. These guys are like the tech team you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Saito-san was I don't know how this happened, but basically he had this installation over at Mori Art Museum, which is out in Roppongi area, kind of like a big time spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, they gave him a room to do whatever he wanted, and so yeah, the theme of there was a whole bunch of different things going on, but it was just going through a lot of you probably saw in the video, it was like the inside of houses and stuff. It goes kind of through Japanese history, showing different rooms and different times.
Oh.
And then I was there kind of as the hired sound designer, making the mood for all the vibes. Yeah.
How much direction were you given in terms of that, or were they pretty? I don't know. Yeah, were they pretty free with letting you do your thing, or were you given a lot of kind of we want these types of sounds or moods to be established?
I would say it was half and half. Like if you look at their projects, you could see the kind of their zone, what they like, So when I was, they said, okay, do something along the vibe. I kind of wrote something that they would probably vibe with, but they didn't say like, do these chords or do this and that. Yeah, it was like 50-50. Yeah, I think it was like the perfect balance.
So I guess, how long is this work? And like, I guess, how is it being presented? Like, is it on a loop, or is it a show, or like, what is the presentation?
So basically it's a like 5 or 6 minute installation thing. Basically they'll have this big room. They bring like 20 people in, shut the doors. And then it's like a projection mapping,
okay.
3D kind of environment,
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So you go in and then you watch this 6-minute video. Those people leave. Next group comes in. They replay it.
Okay. So it's like it doesn't loop. So like people will come in at the beginning and stay till the end. Sort of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's like a Disney ride.
In that sense, you did have like a beginning and middle and end to your accompaniment, sort of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's a pretty interesting one. Like, you could actually, like, there were these stairs. I don't know if you have to watch the video I sent you again, but like, you could actually walk up these stairs and go onto, it kind of looks like a stage. And basically the projection mapping is coming all around you. So it's like you're in this room.
Oh, wow.
And then they have all the speakers pointed in different directions. So it's like this, it's like you're in the house, Is
this a multi-speaker thing? What you've written?
No, it's not a multi-speaker, but,
like effectively,
it's just 2-channel, but we set it up so that things are.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let me play. I prepared an excerpt from one of those videos. Let me play that and then can talk a little bit more. So
Yeah, man. Talk about knowing your library. That's just that's amazing. Be able to construct that, but that's years of collecting things and just knowing where it's truly an instrument at this point, you know? It's amazing.
yeah, I love like kind of the directionality of this because it's always pushing forward, and then you do always kind of find yourself in like a new zone.
Pretty quickly too, yeah. Like nothing lingers too long, and then you're dropped into a new joint, and then not a new song, but like a new environment, and you're able to kind of see where you are for a second, and then it moves forward. You know, I definitely agree. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, you said what I was gonna say.
Well, fine.
Yeah. So basically, if you were watching the video, you probably saw the different rooms, right?
Yeah,
so
but
it was
to be
just
honest,
going
with you,
through time.
Watching the video, it's like I don't know what I'm looking at. To be honest with you, it's like it's hard to tell.
It's the architecture of different kinds of houses in Japan.
Okay.
Like there's different styles and in different times. So yeah, basically the music was changing with those vibes, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it'd be like, oh, this is the nature kind of spot. And then goes to kind of, you know, Zen style. You know?
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting about this piece is that how you have like it's in a time stream. Like you can sort of tell the things that do repeat. You have these sort of sound, like you don't have drums happening, right? You don't have like a beat, but you do have sort of like at times chords or like a ping or like there's like a sound happening that gives you a sense of time, like a sense of tempo, I should say. It's interesting how you don't have drums, but it does give you that time. And also I kind of do you have more music like this, I guess, that is in this world of like where you don't have drum beats, but you do have like sort of sonic material pushing through time that's not quite ambient, you know?
No, but it reminds me of Music Concrete for sure, you know, like, and the sense of tempo is like for me, the way that samples were chopped and then how quickly you moved on to the next room as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you'd have a you know, you'd just be plopped right in. But sorry Bob. That's a good question though. Is there other material like this that you've created?
Yeah, I mean, like usually when I'm thinking about an album or, you know, I do have songs like that. Like I do have quite a bit of that actually.
Any plans for that, or you just enjoy making it and hanging with it?
I always have a million songs just sitting around. I always get it to 70%, and then I'm like, man, what am I doing?
That's tough.
It is. Yeah, the last 5% is the hardest for sure. This music is very cool.
Agreed.
And this is correct me if I'm wrong, like much more recent than Parallels.
Oh yeah, big time. Like
when did you do this one?
This one I think 2 years back.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was 2 years back. 3? I can't even keep track anymore.
Last installation before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. The listeners don't know this actually. We ask our interviewees what their musical influences are, and we don't necessarily talk about them. But for the ones that you sent, like there's people like Seriismo that I'm familiar with. That's like it's very there's always drums, right? It's always like a funky beat happening.
Yeah.
And then there's like stuff like I wasn't familiar with like some of these people like John Hopkins and Nathan Fake, but it's like that stuff. It seems like they have drum stuff too, but they had a lot of stuff that was mostly just like no drums, but electronic music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call it ambient. I don't know how to like what
Yeah, it's
genre
kind of
words to throw at it.
It's kind of like in the middle there. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I also saw that John Hopkins had like I think,
It's got a university.
an album where it was like interpreted just like piano,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I think he's classically trained.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, he does his solo. I think he just did maybe like a year ago, a solo piano tour or something.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's like, he can do the beats and that.
Do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with too many, but again, I've already come clean on all of that. Like I'm learning so much about these worlds through these interviews, and it's really extremely valuable and extremely fascinating. And I hope listeners that come from more of my background get the same. You know, there's a lot of music in the world.
I was very recently turned on to Lorne, who I
Lorne's dope, man.
I didn't know Lorne, and then I was like, oh yeah, and that was my reaction. Like Lorne's dope, like such an incredible command of like I don't even know how to. It's like sound design, but
yeah,
the way he uses space in his music is incredible, and like
he's quite minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know this, and then I think Matt pointed out to me that I'm on a CD with Lorne.
Oh wow!
Yeah. He was on one of our the catalog comp stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, crazy.
Awesome. Wait, what CD is that? And what project was that for you, Bob?
So there was a record label, Catalog Records, which was that I honestly I couldn't remember if it was Catalog or Circuitry at the time.
No, I wear a Catalog shirt regularly, like the kick, snare, you know.
Yeah.
Because I got that
you know that.
I got that LP split that Wake did. It's a nice
Wake, Matt.
Yeah, it's a nice split that I listened to. But yeah, I wear that shirt to work out. Actually, it's a very nice record label shirt. But anyway, so you're on that. Is it TFPP or?
I honestly don't remember. Do you remember? Were you on that?
Yeah, I think I believe I was. Me and Owen, I think, as speakers.
Oh,
we had our group was on that, I think.
Wait, I'm looking up catalog speakers on the internet right now. I'm not getting the results I want.
Catalog records.
Yeah, that was like I mean, Matt was involved in that, right? Matt Heddick.
Yeah, it was Matt, Jasmine, and Alex, right?
Yeah. But I would say that the record label is no longer
Catalog,
right? I feel like I can safely say that.
I don't think they've been active.
Oh,
yeah.
All day. I'll stop wearing the shirt then. I'm gonna burn it.
Oh, don't do that.
I'm just kidding, man. I love that shirt. Right on. So yeah, you have those installations, and then just I know that you have like a dearth of material at all times. But are you currently at this very moment working on anything new, or you just kind of visit things as they come to you? What's your current creative vibe like?
Yeah, I mean, I to be honest, I think I kind of hit a wall and got into my own head. Like,
yeah,
I haven't released in so long, and I think it's kind of, it's eating at me now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I write every day. I have so much stuff. I just need to organize it. Well, I do have a goal to finish a song this month.
Cool. I'm not one to talk because it takes me forever to release anything, but you know,
Yeah.
I say go for it. If you release something, I'll release something. How about that?
I'm very much eager to hear more material from you as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So I would encourage you to release something.
And if you did, would you be talking to labels, or are you just for our listeners to look out down the line, like what name, moniker, any of that, or do you not have that planned at this point?
Yeah, I think I would still release under Eli Walks.
There you go.
I haven't been in contact with the label that released Parallel, but yeah, I mean, it feels like they're always open for.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's a good.
I think that the deal is different and all that. I don't know, but I might just do it all by myself. I was kind of not wanting to do that in the beginning.
Yeah. Do it all by yourself, like for the release push and everything, or?
Yeah, just like,
okay.
Yeah. It's work.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Cool. Well, do let us know, and because as you progress towards releasing something, because then we can help promote.
Oh,
yeah, we'll definitely put it out on our streams.
Yeah,
for sure.
And
let folks know.
We can definitely have you back on too. Like,
cool.
Get something ready.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we have a series of little bonus episodes, and I think one of the ones should be just letting folks know what our prior guests have been up to, like if there's anything we want to shout out, listen to, talk about.
Yeah, I mean, as we grow our repertoire of guests, or our catalog of guests, not our repertoire.
I played this guest like a harp from hell.
Yeah,
that's awesome though. Yeah,
that's
man,
a good
idea.
Yeah, but I know releasing is a stressful, horrible thing, but man, I've been sitting on this one thing, and I'm so ready for it to not be sat upon anymore, and I'm just gonna put it out because I'm like starting to record some more, and it's just like what is going on? This has been finished for so long, and there's like a label ready.
What are you talking about? Snacks?
The snacks, man. Like it's just like done.
You're done with it.
Like horrible thing inside me that makes it hard for me to finish these things up, but that's okay.
Dude, do you guys, like, for example, for me, it's like after the first 3 days of writing the song, it's burnt up in my head. Like it's no longer fresh. And then I feel like I have to revisit it in order to get everything, like the mix, everything on spot, but the vibe's not there anymore. And then I dropped the ball right there. I'm like,
dude,
I would love to hear Bob talk about this. Actually, I mean, I have my own like thoughts and practices, but Bob is so prolific. I want to know what your thoughts are.
I mean, so I sort of do break it up into two categories of thing in my mind. But so like there's two approaches, right? There's one which is like just finish this thing and get it out and move on with your life. Don't worry too much about it. And then there's like the other mode of like, take the time, make it good. You'll regret not doing this perfect, right? Like and I think that I try to have both in my life actively, because like on the one hand, just being able to like close the door on certain things and just being like, this is done. Like it's fine. It'll be fine. Right. And like, cause it allows you to kind of like burn through some practice, like, cause everything really is a practice. Right. And, so like if you're like just getting stuff out there or not even releasing it, just being like done with it, just being like, I'm not going to work on this anymore. And like you then have, you're practicing certain things by doing that. And then, but you're practicing other things by making yourself like focus on something and get it perfect, and taking the time to like to just be like sitting down and being like, I don't want to do this right now, but I'm going to work on the mix of this song. And I'm currently going, or at least I just got finished doing that with my second Onkos record, where like I'm so beyond those, like I'm so bored with those songs. Like I've heard them a billion times. I've considered all the possibilities a thousand times over, you know, just like taking all the steps that I could think of to take, forcing myself to do it just to, because like that in itself is a practice too, because the more you take something as far as you can possibly take it, like the limits of what you can do, you're practicing that skill set, you know?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I spent most of today retracking drums for something that I had just kind of done as the first aspect of that, where you just like sort of get it done. It's an idea, you document it. But then I found that I liked the idea enough, and I was not at all happy with the drum take. There was too much stuff that I spent like hours on probably 4 minutes worth of drum music. And then I got a little bit of another instrument in there as well. But the issue with that is I'm not that good of a drummer. So I think that was part of the problem. But so sometimes when you do revisit things, like I'm also getting more into the practice of recording myself as opposed to doing anything studio wise. And then you all have another element on that, because I rarely mix my own music to a point where I'm happy with it. Usually I need help, you know, like I'm not super skilled with mixing, and most certainly not mastering ever. But so for me, it's just the idea of getting a composition documented and having a good performance, something that I'm happy with. Or is it just another one of those songs that's like, cool, I made like a funky little tune that I can listen to if I want, you know, and no one ever needs to really hear this. But like, I'm kind of done doing that. You know, I would like to be more intentional with the time that I spend recording and try to have results, something that I would want to compile into a record and share with people, you know?
Yeah.
But it just takes so much intention and time and but I'm personally happy that I'm like getting to the point where I'm like putting that time in instead of just like kind of going for it, you know?
Yeah.
It's sort of new for me, to be honest.
The aspect of like the thing is, so this is kind of, I guess, a good question for you, Jeff, is like, because like when you're talking about Snacks music, you are talking about composition you wrote on like notation, perhaps had other musicians play it, perhaps like recorded it in a studio, perhaps, right?
Yeah,
Which is,
I mean, a lot of the Snacks music comes from basement demos or things that I've recorded myself.
well,
Usually it's demoed out, then I'll notate it if it's good enough, you know. But anyway,
well, yeah, but the final form being something that was like done in a studio, usually, right?
yes.
So,
yes.
but and Jeff, your final form, like it, like I can't imagine decoupling the composition from the mixing process. Like, it seems like in electronic music, that's just part of the deal. Is that like mixing production is the composition? Like it's literally the thing.
Yeah,
it is part of it.
So
for me, that would be part of the process. And then I always go, there's always like the last, you know, like I would go sit in front of the real good speakers and do the final touches. Like a lot of times I'll just be on headphones, like making a beat somewhere. And then, yeah, that'll be what I do at first.
yeah.
Yeah.
I end up with a lot of like, I make lists when I'm at the end stages of mixing an album. I end up listening to it in other, like, because you're checking the mix in other speakers and stuff, right? So I'll go somewhere else. Like, I'll like play it through my TV speakers or so, like some thing like that, and then take notes. I'll be like, oh, this is poking out too much, or like blah 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 blah, whatever my notes are, right? I end up with, but then when I go back to my workstation, I have a to-do list, and it's not just like, because I feel like sometimes when you just sit down at the workstation and then you try to mix, you're like kind of get lost in the weeds a little bit with like different things. But if you maybe come to the workstation with the to-do list, it's different. It helps me a lot, at least.
That's cool. I have a to-do list from today's work, actually, and I was like excited. I was like, cool. Next time I'm in here, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And like, just again, the idea of, you can simmer on things. I like to use voice notes, like to hang out, listen to things in a way. But now, if I'm going to put mics on them, I want to try to have that full intentionality.
You like to burn a demo to vinyl and listen it in your couch?
No, I order 700 copies, give them away to people, and then go buy one at Goodwill. Then I'll listen to it, think about the mix, and then probably write another song. Generally.
Yes.
Dude, yeah, I think I just get too carried away. There's so many things going on the screen. I just somehow get distracted by something, and then I dig a new hole.
Yeah.
I feel you on that for sure. Especially,
I definitely write the list, and
especially when it comes to using plugins. Like, there's been times where I've just been like I'll go into Logic and just be like, reset channel strip, start over, bro. Got two.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I'm curious for both of you, like how much demoitis plays in, like in the mixing. Like if you've listened to something enough when you were trying to get mixing notes, sometimes I've just kind of got stuck in what that version was and got pretty into that,
Yeah.
Or are you able to just kind of let go and be like, nope, this isn't good enough, done?
I think I have situations with both. Like sometimes I can't let go, and it needs to be like that. But then there's other times when I'm feeling creative. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to take this to the next level, which is something else.
Yeah.
There is an interesting thing. I like that happens to me sometimes where I'm like, this isn't as good as it used to be, or like that, like it doesn't punch like the original did, or like whatever. Like usually it's a mixing thing.
The spirit of the song has changed or something. Yeah.
For a long time, I would try, like, in the past, I've been like, oh, just go back to just use the demo. But like,
wow.
Today, if that happens to me, I would be like, okay, why? Like, why can't I get it as good? I would want to dive in and try to dissect. And it's usually a mixing thing. It's like, why does this bass drum punch so good on the demo and it doesn't punch anymore now that I have 10 other tracks happening? And it's like, oh, it's these buses, and I'm using, like, my mixes are pretty wild, pretty commonly. So there's a lot of things to consider, but I usually try to figure out why it is different, or like why I can't achieve the vibe that I want.
I like that, because I was given advice once back in the day, and I regret hearing it, because they were just like, you should never try to do anything again. You should just go for it while it's fresh and creative. Otherwise, like, what's like, it's not going to be exciting anymore. And I totally agree with you, Bob, where it is worth going back and doing something better.
Well, okay.
And putting a lot of work and intention in it. But yes,
but like I was saying before, that's the other aesthetic of like, just trying to bring the magic of inspiration as close as possible to the point of release, and cutting out all of like the middle work as much as possible, because then you're able, if you close the door, then you're able to move on. So there's like, it's not bad advice to do that. Cause like, I think that, that practice, because some people do get stuck. They get stuck in the perfection of things.
Yeah.
And it, I do certainly, like, or like I can, like, and it's good to, I think it's good to have both practice, like do something as quick as you can and be done with it, and you can't touch it again, like, or maybe revisit it in another year or something. But
Yeah. I mean, I appreciated Song a Day for a month for that reason, where I basically just busted things out and then I can pull from that material and
Song
do
a
it.
Day is great.
Dude, I've been wanting to do that.
Yeah.
You should. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like you have so much more stuff than you ever would to pull from, you know?
Dude, I have
Like
a list. I have like, I forget where it is, but I have like a list of like 10 different like things that I want to do for Song a Day, but I never have time to do song. So
yeah, Song a Day is really, really intense.
To anyone who doesn't know, what is it? songeverydayforamonth.com?
Song a Day for a Month, SADFAM.
Yes. songeverydayforamonth.com is an online community of mostly, I think it came from someone at CalArts, right?
Yeah, it was a CalArts person.
Oh, really?
And so they're primarily active in January and July. Is that right?
I thought it was January, April, but I don't know.
Well, they did April in 2020 because of COVID, but
oh, I see. Okay.
People are doing it all year. It's just those are the 2 months I think that they do as like the primary, like everyone's doing it, because you can't do it all the time unless you're a freak of nature. But basically the idea is that you do you write, or whatever this means to you, you write a song every day for a month, and you
document it and release it.
Yeah, and so it
on this website.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So it's like
I did it once.
So then you can't take away, huh?
No, it's just up there, and everyone's like checking out everyone's work. It's a really supportive and beautiful community.
Yeah, a great community. And honestly, it's like anyone who's writing songs or anything like that should do this at least once, because it's such a great practice.
Oh man. All right. All right. I'll do it.
Man,
it's intense, man. It changes the way you think about or it changed the way I thought about every aspect of making music, because first of all, it made me realize that recording is not such a pain in the butt. Like the whole like, any excuse that I try to give myself, it's really just 10 minutes of work. It's okay.
Yeah.
And then you can be recording. And the rest of it, you're just like cycling ideas through as you're walking around, because you're like, well, I got to do another song now. And but it is really intense, because there's a lot of
really
nights
intense.
where
there are days that it gets really hard.
Yeah.
You're
like, and I'm sure you're on a timeline, right? That limitation. Too.
Yeah, like I'm like working full time, and like it's not an easy task. I think it's good if you're doing something like this to give yourself a set, like a vibe to work in, or a set of limitations.
Mm-hmm.
It could be like, just as an example, like I'm only gonna write acoustic guitar folk songs, like, and they're gonna be 1 minute long, like, so it's like it's something that's like fairly doable. Or like I'm gonna just use my MPC, and like I'm just gonna record direct from the MPC, and like something like that's like, okay, you take down like the realm of possibilities to like something that you can feel like you can work with for a month,
Yeah.
I was going nuts, man, because I was tracking drums and then doing vibes, organ, Rhodes on top of all that, and making like full on 4-minute songs.
When did you do it? When did you do it?
19, I think. And I think I only lasted like 6 days for that reason.
Oh,
there were some times that I like wrote just piano and voice songs, and I thought those were really successful, and that's when I like had a very busy day. But that's the whole point of the exercise, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't get through the whole month, and it was crazy. I mean, both my wife and I were doing it, and we basically just didn't see each other, you know? Like around 11 p.m. we'd be able to check in, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
How much time were you guys spending on these, would you say?
Too much for me.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like if I'm trying to
Yeah.
multi-track for every song, it wasn't sustainable. So Bob's idea of having a firm limitation on your approach is a very good one if you're going to go for it.
So I did it in April of 2020 on there. They did a bonus month for COVID, and it was like I said, I have a list of ideas for this. I've been thinking about it for freaking years. So like I like kind of knew like how I wanted to approach the month, and I knew that I had like there would be days when I only had 15 minutes or something.
Wow.
So I did it in a way where it was like, well, I'm gonna finish one song a day. So I'm gonna record a lot on like the weekend and like get ideas happening. And like if I'm gonna record like a lot of it as like Afro-Cuban percussion stuff, I would like record like 5 or 6 tracks of like ideas and then finish one song a day. That was like the way I did it. And then also like the songs were like no vocals for the most part, is like these like they had a vibe. Like I had a thing that I was doing, you know. It wasn't like just whatever. It was like I made it into this album Excursions, which is like if you want to listen to almost 3 hours of really long tracks, that's the album for you.
Yep. Yeah, definitely recommended though, especially if like getting over the hump of releasing stuff and just getting back into that mode. It's a really helpful practice.
Yeah.
It's fun too. Like
yeah, the community's sweet.
I think a lot of people, like most people that do a month, end up with at least like an album's worth of material.
At least.
Yeah.
Usually, yeah.
I can imagine.
Like most of it seems to turn out well for people. So.
Yeah.
Dude, I need some strict goal setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps. I mean, I definitely, I'm glad we talked about it. 'Cause, you know, I was definitely curious about imposed limitations, and I always am with people who create things because I need them, you know. So I'm glad we were able to talk about that. But, you know, maybe this will just help. Like, you'd probably get like 3 records worth of stuff done, you know, if you did that. But anyway.
Dude, I would say over the last few years, I really learned about limitations.
What do you mean?
Oh, especially like, I guess it probably started from, I started studying plugins a lot more. So I started buying more and really, I had a lot more on my plate.
Yeah.
And just that, and not having a label anymore, not having like any pressures to finish, like in many ways, limitations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Pressures
yeah.
to finish.
The plugin world is a dark dive for me. You know, I have a few that I kind of know how to use, but man, that's so intense. Once you start getting in there, it can be kind of dark, you know.
Well, it doesn't have to be so dark, man. It can be.
It's dark. It's a cold, dark world of plugins. It's no, I mean, I periodically try to. No, I'm not periodically. I'm always trying to improve mixing techniques, but just like the only plugins I use are ones that my friends have directly recommended to me because I don't trust the structure of advertisement. Like as soon as you research one, you start getting emails from all these other plug companies because of the cookies and stuff, man. And I'm just like, I can't deal with this.
You know what? So Devin Smith, who did the synths on the Onkos record,
Yes.
He did. So he didn't. I was sending him like MIDI, and he was doing all the like the sound design of them. So he did the whole record. I did the whole first record using like a couple of different plugins, and he did the whole second record with one plugin because he was like I want to. Here's a plugin I don't know how to use, and I want to get better at it. So it's just like use only this one plugin for all of the synths on the whole record, and just like try to figure out ways to use it and make it interesting and yada yada yada. So he like really got inside of that one plugin. And
dude, that's sweet.
Yeah, that's a great idea actually.
Yeah.
and that sounds like something that I would be able to do and benefit from, you know, as opposed to like kind of like just going for it with a mix using a bunch of plugins that I don't really know what they do.
Yeah.
You know, like
when
to
you
use
find
it
yourself
as an instrument
through presets, you're doing the wrong stuff, right?
Well, shoot. Yeah. Enough about me.
That's like flipping channels on or like scrolling through Netflix or something. It's like because you're just like you're not thinking about what you want. You're just waiting for something to happen that sounds cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Room, like Medium Room. Just kidding, man.
Your reverb plugin, scrolling through all the reverbs.
But yeah.
Well, I kind of narrowed down my selection.
What plugins are you using now, Jeff?
Well, I find Omnisphere really good. It's like Omnisphere. I like a lot of the stuff from Plugin Alliance. You know, like Brainworks.
Brainworks.
Yeah, I really like the Coniphonium. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the synth they have there. Really love that. I love all their EQs and compressors. There's always Serum, of course. Everyone talks about that.
Yeah, you got me into that. I think it's not for me though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, everyone has their workflow.
Yeah,
but I kind of got familiar with it and feels comfortable. There's like Yuhi synths. Those are really good.
I'm looking all these up as you're telling me.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a massive world.
Yeah.
It's
Very
amazing.
cool.
All right.
Well, shall we wrap this up?
Sure.
Yeah, man. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, this is I checked all those out that you said, so thank you for the recommendations. I'm gonna get every single one of them and put them all on one mix with all the presets.
Yes.
No, I'll check them out though, man. Thank you. Good call.
Cool. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Anytime you need stuff, I can let you know.
Thank you.
Let you know more. I have them all.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
So, Parallel by Eli Walks is on Apple Music, and do you have any other? I don't think. Did you have you don't have a website, right? Or
nope.
Yeah. So that's that's it.
Any other handles or medias or anything that you want to plug?
Is Eli Walks, whatever.
Right on.
I used to use Twitter. I think I have a Facebook page. Yeah, I need to reboot everything.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you do that, we'll let the folks know. But definitely check out Parallel Eli Walks on Apple Music. Beautiful record. We heard some excerpts from. You can find us on Insta and Facebook at @FT4HB, and our Twitter is @tones_4, the word FOR. Yes, so check us out, follow us, and please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Everything is, we really appreciate it. And we do have a Patreon. You can go check out our Patreon page. Just go on Patreon and look for Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. We're the only podcast with that name, so you'll find us. Yeah. But yeah, that's what we have to plug. and we'll be keeping you posted on our upcoming releases as they come up on the medias.
Cool. Well, anything else from you, Jeff?
Oh no, dude, thanks for having me.
Oh no.
Yeah, thank you so
Fun.
much for being on and talking with us and working out the scheduling
Yeah,
out in there in Japan. I really appreciate it. We appreciate your time.
dude, super fun.
Well,
Yeah, it's great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
I'll take us out on. I wanted to play Maze. So.
Ooh.
All right.